Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president until I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Oh, boy. Joe Biden's gaffe-filled press conference may have satisfied some of his supporters, but how do our allies and adversaries view the president now? Former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo joins us now with more. You know a lot of these leaders. What kind of takeaway do you think foreign leaders would have? That was one moment, an obvious glaring moment, but they spent days with him as well, and therefore would have seen the decline. What does that mean for allies and enemies around the globe?
Good morning, Pete. You know exactly what it means. I lived this 4 years. President Biden's right about one thing. As a president of the United States, you do get a cognitive test every day. And sadly, you can see that he is failing at the policies that we put in place. Got 13 of our soldiers killed in Afghanistan. That wasn't just recently. That wasn't post-debate. These challenges that President Biden is clearly facing aren't just about who should be on the ballot. It's about the next 6 months and the decision-making that's got to take place to keep Americans safe. And whether it's the Middle East and the war that's there, the war in Europe, President Biden has clearly failed this test, this policy test, and will continue to do so. And when they see him make these mistakes, these glaring errors, I think that it confirms for them the evidence that they've seen personally in their private conversations, that this is not someone they can have a serious, thoughtful, deep conversation on important matters that matter to their country. If they're our friend, and our adversaries think this may just be the moment that we will continue to press America. It worries me a great deal that the next 6 months will be led by this man who has clearly demonstrated he doesn't know how to put America first and keep our nation safe.
You know, Mr. Secretary, you've led these big organizations inside Washington, D.C. with a president who's heavily engaged in the goings-on at the State Department or the CIA or the Defense Department. What would it be like to be the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Defense, like Lloyd Austin is right now, when you have an absentee landlord? I mean, you're not holding cabinet meetings. There's no actual oversight. There's been no accountability. No one's been fired for what happened in Afghanistan, as an example. So you have a commander-in-chief who's really not there. What does that look like for the agencies charged, say, with our national security?
Pete, it's the exact opposite of my experience, where I spoke in each of those roles at the Central Intelligence Agency and at the State Department. Spoke to the president nearly every day. So here's what we're doing, here's what we're working on, get some guidance, get his thoughts, make sure we have the strategic direction right that he wants to take the country. I don't know how you would perform those when, frankly, the president's not available very much because he's got very short work days. And when you do have those conversations, you're not certain that he truly fully took on board the things that mattered, the critical data that you were trying to provide to him. I don't know how you do those jobs, and the institutions that you lead can see it as well, not just you as the leader of that organization. And they're going to look to those folks and count on them, and they've clearly demonstrated. Right, the Secretary of Defense goes missing for a couple of weeks. Yeah. This is something that our adversaries. It seems like a long time ago, Pete. I know. Our adversaries see this, and they're going to press. And whether it's at our southern border or the risk to our friend and ally Israel, it's a risky time for the United States of America and people all across our country.
It sure is. It sure is. I want to get to a quick second topic here. Joe Biden did announce during that press conference right before that Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire framework in what he hails as a foreign policy win. What do you make of the timing of it and the substance?
Odd statement from President Biden. I haven't heard the Israelis comment on it. I could have missed it. I'll believe this when I see it. They have now multiple times announced that they had ceasefires, and it turned out they had absolutely nothing. I suspect that's the case here as well. Just as importantly, Pete, what we failed to do there to get the ceasefire, don't forget, American hostages. President Biden seldom mentions this. We still have American hostages alive and being held, and we've done almost nothing to get them back. I've seen no evidence that President Biden's done the right thing to help Israel have the tools, the weapons, the capabilities they need to actually finish their job of destroying Hamas.
No doubt. It feels like just about one of the most dangerous moments I've felt in my short life here as an American. The world's in chaos, our borders wide open, and we have no idea who's in charge. Secretary Mike Pompeo, thank you for your time.
Pete, great to be with you this morning.
Great to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.